its condolences after the death of Pope Francis. Rest in peace, Pope Francis, the US president wrote on X, accompanied by photos of the pontiff meeting President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance on separate occasions. I want to now go into a topic which casts a long shadow over the Catholic Church, but that Pope Francis put a lot of work into, and that is the topic of the Catholic Church's sexual abuse crisis and the work that Pope Francis put into the efforts into a notable shift towards transparency and accountability, these processes were made with both praise and criticism. In 2019, Pope Francis put forward a letter and established called the Vos Estis Lux Mundi, which established the universal procedures for reporting sexual abuse and holding bishops accountable for misconduct or cover-ups. It mandated that every diocese worldwide set up accessible systems for reporting abuse and required clerics and religious report any suspicions of abuse. This was not the case before. So Pope Francis brought this in as late as 2019. In 2023, these norms were made a permanent and expanded to include lay leaders in international associations of the faithful. In 2019 as well, Pope Francis lifted the provincial secret in cases of sexual abuse, allowing for greater transparency and cooperation with civil authorities. This move was hailed as a significant leap towards justice for victims. He revised the Church's penal code in 2021 to provide clearer definitions of sexual offences and introduced stricter penalties, including the possibility of clerics found guilty for abuse. We will now move to some more updates. Tributes are pouring in now. A great man has left us, says Italy's Meloni, about the Pope's death. French President Emmanuel Macron paid homage to Pope Francis, saying he had always been on the side of the most vulnerable and the most fragile and fought for more justice. Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof says Pope Francis was in every way a man of the people. European Parliament President Roberta Metsola says his contagious smile captured millions of people's hearts across the globe. Israeli President Isaac Herzog hails the boundless compassion of Pope Francis. Swiss President Karin Keller-Sutter says Pope Francis was a great spiritual leader and tireless advocate for peace. And Scottish First Minister John Swinney describes him as a voice for peace, tolerance and reconciliation. Pope Francis was born in 1936 in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Then he became a priest in 1969. Later, in 1988, he became Archbishop of Buenos Aires. In 2001, he became the Cardinal, and in 2013, he got elected as the Pope after that long process. In 2015, he raised issues like climate change, encyclical, and in 2020 he led prayers during the COVID pandemic. In 2022, due to aging, he became dependent on a wheelchair, despite of which in 2024 he addressed the G7 summit on AI risks. And today, on the 21st of April 2025, he died after 12 years papacy of reform. We are once again shortly joined by Joshua Barnes to give us more updates. But now, if you're just joining us, the Pope has died after a statement was released from the Vatican saying that the Pope passed away at 7:35 local time this morning, today on Easter Monday. The significant Christian festival. His death comes a day after he appeared in St. Peter's Square to wish Happy Easter to thousands of worshippers. He was recently discharged from hospital last month after 5 weeks of treatment for an infection. And Francis's death sets in motion the centuries-old process of electing a new pope. Joshua Barnes joins us now to give us some updates. Joshua, what updates can you give us?
Yes, Thomas, so very shortly we will go through some more of the outpours of sorrow and celebration for Pope Francis from world leaders, but I do beforehand just want to provide some context over Pope Francis's last few weeks. Of course, he went to hospital in mid-February, suffering with bronchitis, spending 38 days in the Gemelli Hospital in Rome. His situation worsened and he was being treated then for pneumonia, spending several nights in an intensive care unit with fears over his condition and whether he would make it through, but miraculously he was able to leave hospital after that 38-day stay. He then, of course, returned to the Vatican but remained in a worsened condition as the one that he entered hospital in. He was able to take part in the Easter celebrations at the Vatican, meeting J.D. Vance, but unfortunately passing away this morning at 7:35 according to the Vatican. Tom, I will send back to you, and in a couple of minutes we'll bring you some more of those updates from some world leaders that we haven't brought you so far.
Joshua, thank you very much. We obviously have the breaking news of from the White House, who have sent their condolences from the death of Pope Francis. Pope Francis has previously condemned the administration's immigration policies, especially the mass deportation plans. In a 2025 letter to US Catholic bishops, he describes these actions as a major crisis and warned that the measures built on force and not on the truth of equal human dignity, and that they will end badly. Those were the views of Pope Francis of the Trump administration's actions of the mass deportations that have been happening. He also criticised the criminalisation of migrants, emphasising that such approaches undermine the inherent dignity of individuals and families seeking better lives. These are the words of Pope Francis, who died this morning at 7:35. This statement from the White House comes after Vice President J.D. Vance, a Catholic convert and supporter of Trump's policies, defended the administration's immigration stance using the theological concept of ordo amoris, suggesting a hierarchy of care and prioritizing citizens over migrants. This obviously comes after Donald Trump wished Pope Francis in a post on X. He said, "Rest in peace, Pope Francis." The post says alongside a picture of the Pope meeting US President Donald Trump in 2017. We have some more reactions coming in. The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, from the United Kingdom Conservative Party, has paid tribute to the Pontiff's humility, courage and conviction. We also have some more coming in. We obviously have seen King Charles and Camilla among the high-profile people to send their condolences to the Vatican after the death of the Catholic Church's leader. There have been some religious groups that have also paid tribute after the death of Pope Francis. Moscow's Patriarchate says Pope Francis played a significant role in active development of contacts between the Russian Orthodox Church and the Roman Catholic Church. The Russian news agency TASS reports. The Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem says a mass will take place at the Basilica of the Holy Scripture on Wednesday. The Jesuits of Britain say they are grateful for the gifts of Pope Francis's leadership. We'll continue to bring you the latest reaction as we get it. But moving on, the Church of England's most senior cleric hailed Pope Francis's desire to lead and build the church in new ways after the lead of the Catholic Church died today. Hailing the deceased Pope's service of the poor, Archbishop of York Stephen Cottrell said Pope Francis was acutely aware of the divisions between our churches and how they stand in the way of seeing Jesus Christ more fully. We are obviously in the midst of receiving all these world reactions coming throughout the world of the leader of the Catholic Church. Pope Francis was met by leaders no matter the religion, no matter the race. He was a significant man to meet and head of the largest Christian denomination, that is Roman Catholicism in the world, which is home to 1.3 billion members of the Catholic Church. We are joined by a guest now, Imam Yahya Pahlavinci, chairman of the Elumia European Muslim Leaders Council and Imam of Milan Central Mosque, Al-Wad in Italy. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Imam, I want to just ask you, what's the